everybody. It's Adam with So Wizard. I'm sitting here with Ryan Kruger, who is a writer, director, filmmaker. How you doing, Ryan?
Cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. This is really cool. I watched the trailer and I watched the short. I actually watched the trailer like 4 times because it's just so bizarre. But before we get into all that, I always like to ask creative people kind of your creative journey. Like, where did it start?
Yeah, well, with Fry Barry, it was originally, we shot the 3-minute experimental short, and that was 2017. So the reason why I made the short originally, it was for a 4-year project, which is still going on now, where I wanted to make 8 experimental films where I can do whatever I want and I can just be creative in every aspect and just do what I want. And the reason why I say that is because over here in South Africa, I'm known as a music video director. So when I do music videos over here, a lot of the time, well, all the time, they let me do what I want for the idea and everything, which is great. But at the same time, I'm still in a box and I'm still restricted in a sense of, I've got to look at, the style of the music that I'm doing the music video for. It has to be commercially enough that it can get on TV and this and this. So I'm kind of still in the box. So with the experimental films that I wanted to make, it was the first thing where I've got like no clients, no studio behind me moaning at me saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Didn't have to give a shit about it going on TV. And the first experimental film that I made was Fry Barry. And when I made that, it was just a 3-minute experimental about a heroin addict in an abandoned building, watching him on his latest hits, with his highs and lows. And it was designed to make you feel uncomfortable. It was almost like a, drug, anti-drug campaign PSA, like don't do fucking drugs, after you watch it. But yeah, it was just, after that came out, we had about, I think it was like 60 official selections, film festivals like around the world. We had about 13 awards. And after that, we just started getting fan art from all these different places like around the world. And people started tagging me and I was like, what the fuck's this? And I just saw people, doing sketches of Barry and stuff, and it just grew. So originally when I did the short, there was no plan to ever make a feature for it. It was just I knew it was onto something good, but at the same time, the short is so short, and it was just there's no major story in the short. It was just about a drug addict and his highs and lows, and making the audience feel uncomfortable, and that's about it. So as time went on, also in my career, I also got to the point where I've came close so many times over the years to make feature films, and then I end up meeting these producers saying, "Oh yeah, we want to work with you, we want to make a movie with you," and then it slowly fades away, and then you start losing a bit of hope in the sense of I've been down this road so many times, and it doesn't end up happening. So I kind of knew all along that it's kind of up to myself instead of waiting for somebody to do whatever film with me. I just thought, fuck, I just got to do it myself. So I ended up getting the idea and how I would expand a hell of a lot to make a story. And I just got this idea, and then I just knew it was right. I was like, shit, I can actually make a good film out of this. And yeah, and then that's kind of what started the journey. But it all came together like super quick. So in 3 days, I wrote a 50% breakdown of the movie, and it was just very brief. It wasn't a script. It was just like Barry goes here, Barry goes there, Barry goes into the supermarket, and then that's literally how brief it was. And then the producer that I worked with, James C. Williamson, I only knew James for about a month. And from there, it was literally, I rang him and I said, I've got an idea for a movie, and I want to make it next month. And he was like, well, have you got a script? I was like, no, I haven't got a script. He's like, why haven't you got a script? And I was like, well, I have to do it in a certain way because our lead character is not an actor. So I've got to shoot it in a certain way to be able to pull it off and base the movie around him to make it work. And then he was like, well, why do you need to shoot it next month? Because I'm like, dude, if we don't shoot it next month, it's never going to happen. It's just going to get postponed. and pushed back and pushed back. And then a month later, we were shooting the movie. So it came around like super, super quick. It's crazy. And
I love that initiative.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I just got to a point where I'm like, I can't wait anymore. And the funny thing is, the amount of scripts that I've got that I could have probably made and probably would have been way easier to make. But, you know, your first film matters so much. And these other scripts that I've got, I could have made it like really well and you know, made a really decent film. But I think if your first film doesn't make a noise and doesn't stand out, then you know, it just creates problems and things are harder, and then your next movie is harder to do. So it was just like, what film could I do that would, you know, make a bit of a noise and not go unrecognized, which is a fucking hard thing. You know, every filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
You know, I always look at filmmakers and go, why that film? Why did you want to shoot that? You could have had any story in the world. Why did you want to tell this story? So I think with Fry Barry, it just felt like the right story, the right movie to do, and it's just a wacky, crazy movie that you either love it or you hate it. The people that will love it will fucking love it. The people that hate it will fucking hate it. So it's either one or the other.
One thing I noticed both in the short and the trailer is the editing style. Did you have a lot of input in that? Because that's
yeah. So a lot of the stuff with like the style that you know, want to come across and stuff like that is, I mean, a lot of, you know, a hell of a lot of work that I've done. I work very closely with my editor, Stephen Duplessis, and yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, I have my style of, you know, of either stories or telling the story, or having input with, you know, sound and editing, majorly on editing, just like the look wise. And, you know, in the short, you've got the turn and things and zooming in, and, you know, it's all to do with stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very, you know, important thing and style for me, just to have that like stamp on it. And that will just make it pop a little bit more and more recognizable, you know?
Yeah, I would say a lot more. And also the quality of the video, it looked unique, but also in a way familiar. And then I saw in the press kit you sent us that you use those red cameras, which are just unbelievable for the kind of work you're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing with the, you know, we shot on the, the Dragon and the Maestro, and we also shot some. So I can't remember the name of the camera now. Yeah, we did like a lot of like super high speed slow motion on the Phantom camera. So we did some days on that, you know, just to capture that like super slow motion stuff. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's also all to do with, you know, lenses and, you know, good camera lenses, and then a great DP to be able to know. I mean, there's a lot of people that get these red cameras and then they don't, you know, they press the red button and everything must be
right.
all right. So, I mean, and it all comes down to, you know, the DP that you use, the lenses that you use, and the familiarity of, you know, using that camera and know how to use it, and then also know how to light. And but I think making a film, it's such a collaboration thing where it's, you know, yeah, it's my story and, you know, my character that I came up with and everything, but at the same time, you know, it's everybody else's work. You know, it's the DP's work. It's, you know, the guy that grades the movie, and, you know what I mean. And it's getting all those, you know, I'm conducting all those things, but at the same time, you know, they're amazing at what they do, and all those like good things all come together and just makes everything like way better. So, you know, it's a process in itself.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it definitely shows in the work that like your whole crew is firing on all cylinders. Like it's slowly, like I said, the trailer, I probably watched it 3 times just back to back. One, to not miss anything, because there's so many like little quick custom little things in there. It's like that.
And that's the thing with trailers. It's like, you know, some people watch that trailer and might go, what the fuck's that about? We don't know what it's about. But I also like those trailers where you don't give anything away. I mean, there's plenty of trailers that show you everything and you go, well, I basically just saw the whole movie. And that's the thing, you know, I like trailers where it's like when the Revenant trailer came out with Leonardo DiCaprio. You watch the trailer, but it didn't give anything away. You watched it and you went, fuck, that looks cool. I want to watch it. And that's it. And it's just a hook, to get people in. And, and then, you make a good film. So it's just as, it's not like, because you also get those films that make a great trailer and then you watch the film and it's terrible.
They gave it all up in the trailer. You just didn't know it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, you've got to, I mean, dude, it's an understatement. When you make a movie, it's got to be good. Obviously, people are like, yeah, I'm going to make a movie, it's going to be good. But it's like an understatement because when you make a film and it's your first film, it has to be the best thing that you've ever done. It has to be the best thing that you've ever shot. Otherwise, what are you doing? Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. So I think with this and where I was in my career and the energy that we had on set and the people that we brought together, everybody just brought the A game. And me and my producer James, we worked so hard in pre-prod and everything to bring this to life. And yeah, I mean, even though it's like I said, it's my film, but I love the fact I enjoy the movie. I love the movie, even though it's my film. But at the same time, I love the other people's work in the movie, and that's why I work with them. So the certain actors, I'm like, oh, I love this actor. He's so cool, such a good actor, and I'm like a fan of their work. So with them, working with those people, or working with the colorist, or working with Hazer on the music, I love their work. So when all that comes together in your own project, you're very biased as well because you're like, oh, I love that. I love what's happening in the film, but it's because I admire these people's work, and that's why I surround myself with people that are amazing at what they do, and that's why I work with them because I love what they do.
Going back to the short, and if this is a spoiler, I'll cut the whole thing out because I know you just said you don't want to give anything up for the movie. The short was about Barry solely as a drug addict, and the movie takes an awesomely bizarre step into like science fiction. And again, I can cut this out if you don't want it out there.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Where did that come in? Because it's like, I've never seen that, but then as soon as I read it, I'm like, that's genius. Like, why haven't we seen that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's just like, how from the short, how am I going to make this into a feature? You know what I mean? It could have been just about a drug addict and that's it. And it just ends there. He's a drug addict and we follow this journey. But then it's like from the start, I wanted to make, like, I love 80s cinema. Like, I love 80s cinema. So in Fry Barry, there's lots of 80s references. There's Alien, there's Terminator, there's Explorers, there's Starman. There's all these references in the movie. There's 70s stuff with like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and that. So there's a big majority of references in there. But it's really, I want from the start. I was like, what film could make a noise and without going unnoticed. So one would be, I want to put that stamp on it that people know that it's my work, and have that craziness and the only way to, when I got the idea straight away, I was just like, it's a bit of this and it's a bit of that, and then with my own flavor mixed in with it. So I mean, one of my references was Starman, John Carpenter 80s movie, where the guy is, you got the wife's husband that died a few years before, and then an alien ship crashes on a farm, and then it takes over, it finds like hair in a book from her husband, and then he generates and gets made, and then he's this alien inside this guy's inside this guy's body that looks like a husband. So it was just, looking at stuff like that, and then looking at movies like Bad Boy Bubby, where it's this guy that's been locked in a room his whole life, and then he gets out and he's just like, whoa, like just checking out the world for the same time. Because the movie synopsis is, it's about a heroin addict that gets abducted by aliens, and that's the story, and it's his journey. It's basically an alien tourist on holiday that's a drug addict and just bumps into all these people. It's like a road movie without the car, but but Barry's the car, so that's basically
Right.
what it is. So to answer that question, I just had to think of something that would, extend that story in a good way and be very entertaining. And we try to push that from the start. So I wanted to make like a cult style movie. So and saying that, it's like, you get all these different cult films that people love and follow, with all these fanboys and people that love and follow all these type of films. So I had to get that recipe right if I wanted to do it like a cult film. And it's that fine line, even when it comes to editing and tone of the movie and music, to get it right, where it fits into that cult style cinema without being too over the top, overly edited or something like that, but have the right tone to it and not just be like, oh, it's a crazy wacky movie. Yes, it is a crazy wacky movie, but it's still, there's that cult film written all over it, and it has that certain tone. I mean, it's like when you look at like Blade Runner and you take Vangelis, the soundtrack, out of Blade Runner, it ain't the same movie. It wouldn't be the same movie. So it's all about, getting that right feel and that right tone, and not going too over the top. But don't get me wrong, the movie is very over the top, and you can't take it too seriously, but it has a certain tone to it that it stays in that cinematic universe where it's that cult style film.
Yeah, mentioning the cult and like the Blade Runner without the soundtrack is not the same thing at all. And even John Carpenter, because I kind of got some of those vibes. The score in the trailer and in the short were like pitch perfect, like right on. You edited to it and everything. How'd you come around that?
Well, over here in South Africa, there's a famous DJ and musician. He composes a lot of music for like films and stuff. His name's Hazer, Eben Small. And for years, I know that his style of stuff, he does a bit of every, different music here and there, but I knew like the stuff that I liked of his, I knew would fit so well with my visuals. And it's a hard thing to find, when you're making films and you get this music and you get that music. But I knew all along that I wanted to work with Hazer, because I know it would bring my work to life and his music to life more with a visual, and it will just fit, really nicely, and it will just gel together. And it did. I mean, Fry Barry, a big part of the movie is the feel and the tone of the music. Like he did such an amazing job, and it wouldn't be the same without it. Like it wouldn't be the same.
I also kind of get a feeling, and I might be wrong because I'm just basing it on the little bit of footage I've seen, that it's not the most dialogue heavy movie. So the score is going to carry a lot of the journey.
Yeah, and it's that feel. Like there's not a crazy amount of dialogue in it, but I mean, I wrote like the whole movie was improv on the day with the actors. So I knew this scene, let's see what happens in this scene. Let's try this, let's try that. So it was coming up with ideas on the day. And I did write, for the main dialogue in the movie, I wrote 6 pieces of dialogue for 6 actors. That was it. That's all I wrote. So I wrote 6 pieces of dialogue. All the rest of the dialogue, there's very small amount of dialogue, was all improv on the day. So we had to be, I really wanted to, because it was my first film, I also wanted, and where I was at the time, I wanted to be so creative, way more, like, that's why I said I could have picked those other scripts, but it wouldn't be as creative. So I really wanted to, like, the movie developed as we were shooting. I was like, oh, okay, this could happen. Write this down. We were like driving from one location to the next, and I'm on a scrap piece of paper writing like dialogue down, or, writing things. And the movie just, I knew where it was going to go. I didn't know who was going to be, what characters were going to be right at the end, but I knew it was about getting to the end. So it was about that journey of getting to the end. I knew how it was going to end, but it was just about, finding character development and finding story development, and, and the plots just, adding up, and caring about these characters, and, having that, even though it's, you have horror elements in it, you've got the sci-fi elements in it, but there's also like a shitload of dark comedy in it as well, which you won't get from the trailer. But there's a lot of comedy in it as well. So it's just like ticking all those boxes and just making something different. And, I really tried my best to make something different that we haven't seen before. And the main thing was just entertaining, just to sit there and be entertained for that amount of time. Because, I think the day and age that we live in now, there's more movies getting made than ever. It's easier to make movies than it was, 15, 20 years ago. So the amount of films that sometimes I watch these days, I'm just like, oh, this is shit. And I just turn it off. Or, I just can't get invested in it. I'm like, this is shit. And that's why I go back to a lot of like old films, I'll go back and watch whether it's like, David Cronenberg or like Steven Spielberg, or, you just end up going back and watching those movies again and again. So, yeah.
There's a reason why they stood the test of time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think it's an important thing to try and entertain that audience. I think people just play it like too safe these days,
You're probably right. Yeah, a lot of stuff's just for mass consumption. It's like fast food movies to get it out there.
Yeah, and it's a money machine, It's a money machine. So, and it was great to think like, oh, this is a cool idea, or this is crazy. Let's do that. And it was like, why not? I didn't have to answer to anybody, so it was just like, let's do it. So it was great to not, because if I went to a studio and said I want to make this film, and I haven't got a script, they would never give me money. They would, you know what I mean?
You wouldn't get past the receptionist, yeah.
No, exactly. So I think, to have these things, it's good to be out of the box, because I'm sure, when these people do these studio movies, there's too many people say, no, you can't do this, can't do that, you have to do this, you have to play it safe, you have to do that. And that must be horrible, to have these ideas. And don't get me wrong, Fry Barry is not for everybody. There's a lot of crazy shit in it. And that's why I say you'll either love it or you hate it. But the people that will love it will really enjoy it. And the people that don't like it may hate it, but they'll also speak about it, which is
that's
cool.
A lot better too. Even if someone hates it, at least it's a reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like, I watched it, now I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. How many films do you watch that is so shit that you either didn't finish watching it or you watched it all, but it's so shit you won't even have a conversation about that movie with anybody because it's not worth it. It's not worth a conversation. And there's more and more movies like that, and I go, fuck, how did they get the budget for this film? Or the characters are just, you don't give a shit about them. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's, I think Fry Barry is a bold movie, bold statement for my first film, but it's cool. Like I want people to talk about it. Rather people talk about it, even if you don't like it, than not speak about it at all. So, normally, like if I go to the cinema with people and I come out the cinema, we always have like a talk about the film. Like, what did you think of this? Or what did you think of that? So I think it will definitely, push some people the wrong way and speak about it. But at the end of the day, it's a movie. It's just a movie. It's just entertainment. You can't take it too seriously, and it's but there's you care for the character, and it's it's like the wife in the movie, that she's the heart of the movie. So it's it's one of those things where you want people to be entertained, and you want people to talk about it.
Absolutely. And your cast, it's a huge cast. There's a lot of really familiar names and faces there, which is awesome. But I wanted to ask about Gary Green, your lead, because you said he's not really an actor, and you kind of had to come up with stuff on the fly and kind of make the movie around his abilities. And it was cool to have the same guy from the short, but his physicality and his look is just incredible.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like when I had the idea to do the film, like Gary had to play it. Like there's nobody better to play it than Gary. And I love characters. So I've worked with a lot of non-actors before, but I like characters. Nobody could play Fry Barry apart from Gary. Like it was written, the idea was for him to be this character. So because Gary hasn't had training in being an actor, he's got a great love and interest for movies and for acting, but he's never been a physically trained actor, and he actually comes from an extra background. So the whole story with Gary is such an underdog story. It's such a great story. him doing extra work and getting a little feature part, a one-liner here and there. And I've worked with Gary for about 10 years, and we've put him in like music videos, and his parts have got bigger and bigger. And then, you know, we did the short. So yeah, Gary's, he's hung in there the whole, you know, for the whole 10 years until I did the short, and then obviously the feature. So Gary worked so hard on the movie. He was amazing. He really listened, and that was a big thing for me. As I said, I based the movie around Gary to make it work. And Gary didn't know what the fuck we were doing until we were on the day, and I said, right, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. He didn't know anything. And I needed that blank slate because he would overthink it, you know, and there was no script anyway. So, but that was the thing. It was just like, I didn't want him to overthink anything and be in that moment. And I just said to him, like, you need to listen to me very carefully. Don't do this, don't do that. But he also, you know, everybody will have like certain habits that they do or bad habits that they do with acting, whether you're trained or not trained. So I really needed him to listen to me very carefully and take my direction very carefully. And even on the first day of shooting, I said to him, you know, you're going to be acting with a lot of, you know, big South African names and stuff like that. And don't be intimidated by it. And, you know, this is your shot. This is your film, man. You were fucking born to play this part. No, but even if I cast the top actor in South Africa, it wouldn't be the same. And that's why this movie was made for him, and he's the best guy to do it. And I said to him, you know, you're not here by mistake. You know, you're meant to be here. And if you listen to me very carefully, I promise you, they're gonna fucking love you. Like, they're gonna love you. And the people that have seen it so far, they love Gary. They think he's absolutely amazing in the movie, and it really, really expands, obviously, from the short film with character. And yeah, and it was, you know, he gave 150% every take. He always wanted to do another take. I'd be like, Gary, we got it. And he's like, no, I want to do it again. I'm like, okay, we'll do it again. Or I'm like, no, we definitely got it. So yeah, so, you know, it was, worked very close with him, and sometimes the easy things were hard. Sometimes the hard things were easy for him. So it was a mixture of things, but it worked. And yeah, I knew it would work, but it was just like, as we went on, I was like, cool, it's working. It's exactly what I thought. So
awesome.
it was
there
nice.
any?
And there was no other way to do it. And in South Africa, we had the South African premiere here, and Gary was nominated for Best Actor. And then Fantaspoa in Brazil just finished, and he won Best Actor. So, which is awesome, and I'm so happy and so proud of him. And yeah, I want him to do well, and yeah, I'm made up for him that coming from an extra, coming out clean at the end, and coming down and making a name for himself, which is amazing. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did he have any kind of apprehension at the beginning when you said, like, okay, we did the 3-minute short, now we're going to do a whole feature with the same dude? Was he like, oh no, it's too much? Or was he like, yes, let's do it, I'm hungry?
No, he was amped. He was ready to do it. Like, that was like, it was one of the only conversations that we had before shooting. You know, I told him, this is the idea, this is the story that we're going to do. And, and then I said to him, but there's one thing I've got to ask you. And he's like, and he looks at me and he goes, I will not be naked. And I'm like, well, that's the thing, Gary. There's like 2 scenes where I'm going to need you naked, but we won't see your bits or anything like that. And he was like, okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to have to do it. And that was it. So he, apart from telling him what the story was and giving him like 2 references to watch, and that was it. That was it. And then from day 1 and day 2 and so on, it was like he didn't know anything until he got on set. And I said, this is what we're doing. We're going through this. And because I just didn't want him to overthink anything and just be in that moment where he didn't have time to like rehearse, or he didn't have time to think about it. So it was just like, you'll see what I mean. When you see the movie, it's like everything just works so fucking well together and just gels together.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear and kind of refreshing to hear, especially with like the guerrilla filmmaking is kind of putting it light though from what you're describing. So it's awesome how everything just folded in together.
Yeah.
So speaking of the release, because you said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, you mentioned a couple festivals and stuff, and on the poster, it looks like you got a lot of great feedback. I know the short got tremendous amount of feedback. We talked about Corona a little bit before we started recording, but is that whole worldwide pandemic thing like really stopping the movie in its tracks, or?
No, I mean the wheel's still turning, which is great. It hasn't stopped, which is great. And we've done a whole big marketing campaign while we were shooting Fry Barry and after shooting Fry Barry and in post and Fry Barry. We've been shooting these like little videos for marketing, and we've been releasing those. And yeah, the only thing with this whole pandemic going on right now is that a lot of the film festivals are online, so that's the only pain in the ass thing, because as a filmmaker, we're playing at Fantasia this month, and fuck, that would have been amazing to go to Fantasia. So there's, to see people watch the movie and interact with the audience and everything. So I mean, that would have been amazing. So I think that for me, that's the only downfall now, where I make my first movie and I can't even go to all these festivals. But I think, in a sense, I think it may be a big blessing it may be a big blessing in disguise, because there's more people watching it online than because I mean, if you're going to fill a cinema screen, you're looking at maybe 250 to 300, if that many people's going to be in the screening and watch it. So at Fantaspoa, we had I think it was 3,400 or 4,000 people watch the movie. So that's amazing. Wow. That 4,000 people got to watch my movie. So at the end of the day, you make a film, you want people to watch it. So it could be a very good blessing in disguise. But hopefully this shit ends soon, so we can go to whatever festivals are coming. But as I said, this month we're playing Fantasia, which is huge, and I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm also playing Grimfest in Manchester in England, I think next month. But there's a lot of festivals still to come.
That's very cool. Do you have a wider release plans, for say our listeners or something, or are you kind of doing the festival thing first, then you're going to work on that?
Yeah. So if right now we're looking at hopefully in January there will be a release, but it's still early stages, and we've got to see how it goes. Also, can't speak about it too much. But
when you get closer and it's more solid, reach out again, and we'll do another quick one of these so you can get the word out there. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to watch it. So
cool, man. Cool.
Yeah. Well, you want to tell everybody where they can?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and it was a really cool movie, really cool trailer, and just to get a whole different perspective and something new. And you're from a totally unique part of the world. I've never spoken to somebody from Cape Town, so it's been a cool experience.
Cool, man. Good stuff.
You want to tell everybody where they can find your work or your socials or your website or anything?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for more information about me and Fry Barry, you can just go onto Instagram. It's a Ryan Kruger thing, or just type in Fry Barry on Facebook or Twitter, and you'll see the platforms there, the pages. But yeah, check out the film, check out the trailer, and if it's a festival near you, go check it out. And I'd love to hear everybody's feedback, whoever watches it.
Very cool. Thank you very much for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to Fried Berry.
Amazing. Cool, man. Thanks so much.
Where the hell have you been, Barry?
You know what I like about you, Barry? You don't say much. But you're a good listener.
You're absolutely fucking right. You're not the father. You're a useless piece of shit.
So what are you doing here, man? How did they catch you? Yeah! You did something bad. Kill someone.
You're not my husband, are you?
You're on a mission. You're more important than us. You have to save yourself. That is a big one. Wow. You big boy.